Hey there folks, Luke here with the Outdoor Gear Review. I hope you're all doing well. Today for this episode we are reviewing the Vargo Triad XE Multi-Fuel Stove. Go ahead and get comfortable. Let's begin now. So my friends, right here in front of you, you have the Triad XE stove. This is, like I said, a multi-fuel stove solution. Right here, this is the stand for the alcohol stove, but you can also use this with a number of different type of fuels, including solid fuel and gel fuels. If you're going to use your alcohol stove, you just simply put it in here, fill it up, light it, and go. If you weren't going to use the alcohol stove portion, you would just simply take your solid fuel, your gel, whatever, and just place it right here and place your pot on top. Right now, we'll take a look at the stand, and as you can see here, it has 6 legs. 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top. These legs do fold in, just like that. And really, this is so that you could unfold these legs, and on a dirt surface, you could push this into the ground to give a nice stable platform for your stove and cook set. Now, of course, the legs on the top, the purpose of that is to hold your pot, to hold your cup, the right amount of distance away from your heat source so you get the most effective burn. As you can see here, around the base plate, you do have holes for air to come through. That way you can actually get oxygen to your fuel. Now we'll switch over to the actual alcohol stove, and as you can see here, you have the burner ring. You just open that up and you would fill it up, put the lid back on. Now with the Triad XE stove, this is made from titanium, and that means that it is super duper lightweight. This weighs 1.5 ounces, and that includes the burner plate and the alcohol stove. Now certainly the biggest selling point to this stove would be its weight factor. Like I said, it is made from titanium. It only weighs 1.5 ounces, which is very impressive. And you can find this online for about $28, $29, $30, depending on where you find it at. And for some people, you're thinking, hey, that's not a bad deal. Now, I would happen to agree with that if I actually liked this stove. Sadly, this stove really does fall short in a number of different areas, and I'm going to go ahead and show you those right now. So to start off with problem number 1, we have to look at these legs. These legs do not allow you to use any cup, any pot, only specific ones. If you have a pot that's nice and wide, that's nice and flat, you can set it on top and you have the stability to be able to actually heat your food. But let's say that your pot has a rounded bottom. When it's full of water, all it does is slide around. Now you can get it kind of seated in the right way, but once you fill this full of water and it starts boiling, it'll start popping, and of course it'll fall down, and for some people that will be a big issue. The next issue has to deal with the alcohol stove itself. As you guys are looking at this, can you think of what the problems may be? Well, I'll go ahead and tell you. The big major problem is that this is a contained unit, so that you cannot refill this easily once it goes through and burns all of the fuel. So let's say that you fill this thing up, you put the lid on, you prime it, you actually get it lit and it burns, and it runs out of fuel. But let's say that your water is not yet boiled. You're going to have to wait for this to cool down so you can take the lid off and fill it back up and start again. Again, that is a very big glaring issue. And sadly, for most people, unless you're a solo hiker, this is going to present a big problem. If you're heating water, you're cooking for 2, maybe more, this is simply just not going to work. You're going to have to just let it heat, let it run out, you have to let it cool down, refill, go again. The next issue is that thanks to this design, it is very, very difficult to prime this stove. It takes a while, you'll waste a lot of fuel doing so, and I'm going to show you guys how this works and why it does not function very well. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this to you. Take the stove, put it in there, go ahead and fill this up. That is about 1 ounce of alcohol right there. Now, since it is windy, we will use a windscreen here. But first, we have to actually get it burning. Now that we have our windscreen set up, we have our stove full, we'll go ahead and prime this. and you do so by pouring alcohol on the top. This stove is extremely finicky. With other alcohol stoves, yes, you do have to protect them from the wind, but this stove is especially sensitive to wind gusts, and even just the slightest little breeze, it will go out. So as you can see, hopefully there, it is actually burning off the alcohol on top. It was burning there for a second, but then it actually went out. All right, so you have to repeat this process over and over and over until the alcohol actually gets hot enough to burn on its own. Okay, here we go again. All right. Burning off the alcohol once more. It's now burning the alcohol on the bottom of the base plates. You can hear it. It's trying to prime. It's trying to get going. And as you can see there, it went out. Again, let's prime it. I try to put a couple of drops down on the base plate to actually heat up the fuel on the inside of the stove. All right. It's burning off the alcohol. Okay, and you might be able to see that it's actually starting to heat up now. It's starting to go. As you can see, it's burning finally after lots and lots of hard work. Personally, I'm just not going to waste any more fuel on this stove. What a shame. So with the Vargo Triad XE multi-fuel stove, it certainly has some problems. And really, because of those issues, I cannot recommend this stove. Yes, it is multi-fuel, but when you have a very limited alcohol stove, you know, I just cannot recommend that you spend the money for this. Even if you plan on using the base plate for solid fuel, I mean, that's a lot of money to spend on just a base plate. Typically, if I'm going to use solid fuel, I will use rocks or something like that to build a base. To spend $30 on a base plate just to burn solid fuel, that's fairly expensive, especially if you have a little bit of know-how. You could do that very simply and for free. With the alcohol stove, when it's 100% filled, on a nice sunny warm day, this would burn for about 7 minutes. On a cold windy day, it's just not going to cut it. Another thing to consider is if your fuel's cold, it's going to take a while for it to heat up so this stove will actually burn, and that's a problem. You're going to waste a lot of fuel, possibly precious fuel, just to get this stove to ignite. Then, of course, it has a very limited runtime. So then when it goes out, you have to let it cool down, reprime, and go. That's a lot of work, no doubt. You can make alcohol stoves out of Coke cans. Very simple process. You can look up instructions on the internet, and I would recommend those highly compared to this right here. So really, my friends, the last thing I could say about this stove is that sadly, in my book, it is a pass. I cannot recommend this to anyone for any reason. You're better off just making a stove by yourself or purchasing a product out there that's similar. I love the fact that it's made out of titanium. I love the fact that it's super lightweight, but it doesn't function very well. It's not a good value. It's very unreliable. Yeah, what a shame. Now, before I end this video, I do want to say thank you to Vargo. We had one of our viewers write in asking about this stove, and I contacted them. They sent it to me, and I wish I had better things to say about it. In the future, if they upgrade this, if they alter it, fix some of the problems, I'd love to check it out and hopefully give it a better review. So my friends, if you have any questions for me, please feel free, drop me a line, let me know. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you guys around. Strength and honor, my friends. Take care.